In this video, we'll be going over an Ayurvedic consultation for my client, Cynthia. My name is Nikki. I'm an Ayurvedic health counselor and a registered yoga instructor. And so this is kind of an insight into what Ayurveda is and what it has to offer us on our healing journey. Would you mind introducing yourself?
And a little bit about what I do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What you do, your experience with yoga, Ayurveda, why you're here.
Why I'm here? That's a really big question. So there's the birds and the bees. No, I'm just kidding. I am an art therapist, and I got into meeting Nikki because she was a yoga instructor in my community, and so I started going to her chair yoga classes as an ease for me to get into doing physical body movements, getting blood flow, hoping to get some stretching, maybe even some strengthening, different things like that, in a very gentle, welcoming kind of way, and a way for me to appreciate every little creak and crackle that my body does as being like, hey, that's something my body does, but it's not a bad thing. Just kind of listening to it and paying attention. And I feel like Mickey did a really good job of helping to kind of have that appreciation for no matter what is going on in your body, to appreciate it. So then furthering my journey with Mickey, found out she was an Ayurvedic practitioner, and so here we are to explore that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So what was your experience with yoga, Ayurveda before?
Yoga before, well, in junior college, I took the psychology of yoga class, and it was quite interesting. I fell asleep in class a lot because we were laying in pranayama, where you're laying just flat back.
Oh, Shavasana?
Shavasana. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we would just lay in that while she would lecture sometimes, and it's like, how am I supposed to stay awake during this? But we would do yoga, and then we would talk about the psychological elements of how it alters your emotions and things like that, not necessarily focusing on how it shifts the body, although we would touch on that some too. But it was a really fascinating class. That's my only experience with yoga. I've never actually done yoga other than that.
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. I really like how you said part of what you were looking for was to appreciate what your body was doing, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And I really like that your introduction to yoga wasn't like a hot yoga class where you're sweating and burning calories and the goal here is to lose weight. I like that your introduction to yoga was more broad and more like head and body and mind and psychology and everything. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I wish more people had that opportunity. It sounds like a class I would be interested in.
Yeah, it was, and I think that if I were to take it now that I'm more adult and I know how to adult better, I think I would make sure I stayed awake, and I would do stuff to make sure. I think I would soak in a lot more of the information, and I would really appreciate it more. But for where I was in my stage in my life, I did get good out of it, and I did recognize the benefits that yoga can give you that are different than what the mainstream society says yoga is about. Mm-hmm. So that was nice.
Yes, absolutely. That kind of ties into my journey with yoga. I was an athletic trainer for a really long time, and my mindset was get clients on stage, get them lean, get them looking good, push them in the gym so that they went home feeling like they accomplished something. And that's kind of how I treated my body. It was like, push through the pain, like pain is gain, and the scale is going to tell you if you've done right or wrong today. And that led to a lot of imbalances in my body. It led to chronic pain, it led to an eating disorder, it led to some really negative things that were not supporting what my body needed. And I found yoga because I was also looking for a way to move my body, but with a different intention, without the need to fit into a certain size of jeans or look at the scale and see the weight change. It was really about moving with compassion and learning to love my body and everything about it, not just the pretty stuff on the outside. And through yoga, I found Ayurveda, and Ayurveda was kind of the missing piece. Like when you go to a yoga class, the instructor has put together a flow that is kind of for everybody. And it's great unless you're suffering from chronic pain and you go to a yoga class and the person tells you, hey, do this back bend. And you're like, oh, but actually that really hurts my back. Like yoga's supposed to help, right? Why am I still in pain? And so I would have these awesome classes where I would feel amazing afterwards, but then I'd have these classes where I didn't feel good afterwards. And so I was like, why is this happening? Ayurveda kind of helped to show that every body is different, and Ayurveda helps give us a roadmap for what our body needs. And those little creaks and crackles and those little like hunger gurgles and emotional tidal waves and things, they're all signals and messages that our body is giving to us. And unfortunately, we have to learn how to interpret those. We're not taught how to interpret those. We have to kind of go out and actively learn. But I feel like Ayurveda to me was the missing piece. And so that's why I really want to share it with everyone. Everyone is willing to listen.
So my only experience with Ayurveda is I used to work at the Body Shop, and we sold products, like we sell essential oils and candles and things like that. But it was the high quality stuff, the Body Shop, not Bath and Body Works and those other ones where it's a lot of artificial things. But they came out with a line of products that they called the Ayurveda line. And so they had the different like pitta and things like that. And then they put specific scents in there that I don't know if it was supposed to help lower your pitta or increase your pitta or what it was supposed to do, but there was something, and I didn't really read up a whole lot on it. I was a manager of the store, but I didn't like really dive into their stuff. But that's my only knowledge, is that I know that there are certain elements to the body and different ways that our body can function based on how things affect us. And I know that these products were supposed to be for the purposes of affecting the person in some way and shifting that in them.
Absolutely.
But that's as far as I got.
That's really good, though. That's a very good introduction. I want to start by kind of defining what Ayurveda is and then talking about how something can be Ayurvedic. So Ayurveda, to me, is a nature-based science. So it's based in the natural world. It uses the 5 elements that we see around us: earth, water, fire, wind, and space, or ether as it's sometimes called. And it states that all those elements that are present in the natural world outside are also present in our own body. So you could think of like earth is very dense. It has a lot of structure. Well, we have bones in our body. Those are very dense. They hold us into our shape. Fire is like our metabolism. It burns and transforms things, and it goes on. So wind might be our moving thoughts. It might be the movement of our body as we lift our arms and do our asana. It might even be breath, right? Because as we breathe, we create this wind. And so we use those elements to help bring balance to our system. And everyone has a unique constitution or kind of blueprint that they were born with. Maybe you have a little bit of earth and a lot of fire, like you're really passionate and ambitious. Maybe you have a lot of earth and a little bit of fire, so you're more grounded and steady. And my partner is very earth oriented, so sometimes I ask him a question and he like waits to respond. And I'm very like, and so for me, that's like, what? Like, can you just answer? But for him, that's who he is, and that's where he feels comfortable. So he's coming from a place of, I feel that answer to be true. I'm going to really be thoughtful with my words. And so that sort of reflects the earth that's in his constitution, for example. So for something to be truly Ayurvedic, it has to hit 3 principles. The first is that it looks at the person as an individual, and it looks at their constitution. So what is your elemental makeup? What is your dosha? And we use the word prakriti, which is like your set point. And then the doshas are just templates for a potential imbalance. And we can talk more about that in a little bit. But the second component is that it treats the root cause. And so it doesn't say, well, this is Ayurveda, here you go. It's like, what is going on in your body? What are the symptoms of this imbalance? And how can we get to the root cause of that? So a great example is, like, I can't go to sleep at night. Well, it's not that maybe you can't go to sleep. Maybe it's that you can't turn your mind off. Or maybe the environment that you're trying to sleep in is not relaxing. Or maybe there's something else going on, like your body is still trying to digest food from lunch, then you had dinner, well, now it's just sitting in your stomach and churning and keeping you awake. So what is the really root cause of this? And then the third thing is that it has to be holistic. And so this just means that we're not just looking at the body and the body type, but we're also looking at this person's lifestyle. We're looking at their tendencies, their preferences. And then how is it going to be applicable? Like if I give you something, hey, you need to go do yoga every single day. Are you actually going to do that? Is it holistic for me to decide what works for you? Probably not. It's really a give and take between the practitioner and the client. And so I love that people are selling products that are Ayurvedic, but it does take an understanding of what is my set point, what is my imbalance, and how do I heal that holistically.
Yeah, so like to buy one of those candles or that oil, figuring out, well, how do I know where I'm at as to knowing which one then is going to be good for me?
Yes, and you hit it on the head by saying, is it increasing my pitta? Is it pacifying my pitta? Like, what about pitta is going on here?
Yeah.
Exactly. So pitta is one of the 3 doshas. Pitta, kapha, and vata are the 3 main doshas. And they're made up from the elements. So pitta, for example, is a lot of fire and a little bit of water. And so it has the qualities of fire. And there are tendencies towards imbalance, and there are tendencies of being imbalanced. So pitta that's imbalanced is a very passionate, very hardworking, maybe an entrepreneur, always got a good idea to fix a problem. But then an imbalanced pitta might have a tendency toward anger. Maybe they have a lot of inflammation, like acne or indigestion, or just heat in the body that is being stored that isn't being cycled through. Kapha, we talked a little bit about, is a lot of earth and a little bit of water. And so they are, when they're in balance, they're very thoughtful. They're very enveloping. People are often drawn to kaphas because they have this loving, kind, compassionate nature. And as I say these things, it's kind of neat to think about, do I have that? Do I have a little bit of that? Do I have a little bit of this? And the answer is yes, we have a little bit of everything. And then kapha's out of balance. Sometimes they're known, or sometimes people say like, oh, it's lazy, like a lack of initiation. I believe maybe that's more rooted in fear of change, fear of the unknown, but that I don't know what to do next, or I don't like where I'm at now, but I don't know where to go next. That being almost stuck, like your feet are in mud and you can't move. And then vata, maybe you've picked up on it, but I have a high vata tendency. Vata is made up of wind and ether, wind and space. In balance, they're creative. They like grab onto new ideas very quickly. Like when I first learned about yoga, I was like, duh, this makes sense. I didn't have to sit and study. I just sort of absorbed it, and it was like, oh, I can do this. Out of balance, vatas can be kind of ditzy, kind of forgetful. They tend to interrupt themselves as they're talking. Me. And they can have imbalances in their physical body, like dryness on their skin, dryness in their joints, a lot of cracking, a lot of aches. And so when we notice an imbalance, we use a principle in Ayurveda that states that like creates like. And so if you have an imbalance in, let's say, pitta, for example, maybe when something happens and you have this flush of anger and this flush of heat, if you were to do something that increased your fire, that would be negative. That would enhance pitta. That would make more. So we use opposites to help balance. And there are 10 sets of opposites, which I can list below, maybe below this video. So with pitta, for example, the heat, we would want to use things that cool us off, like taking a breath before we react, going for a walk, maybe taking a cold shower, things like that.
Which those would all be things that I would recommend, like if I'm doing couples counseling and there's somebody who tends to get heated, or even if both parties get heated in the conversation, saying, okay, let's, while we're not in that heated moment, figure out something that you two agree with that feels right between the two of you as a way to signal to each other, we need a break, we need to go take a walk, we need to take a breath, we need a moment to slow things down. So that's interesting. So they're like cool. Heated in those moments.
That's nice. Super cool. Yeah. So maybe you're already doing some of these things, and
but not knowing why.
Exactly, not knowing why. And one of the things that I like to encourage in my students and my clients is this intuitive piece, like not just doing something because it's what we've always done, but asking ourselves, like, why am I doing this, and is it actually working? So someone who's hot-headed, does taking a walk help? Great, do that. Does taking a walk just make you more angry? All right, let's find something else.
And you just fester on the stuff you're angry about while you're walking?
Yeah. So now that we've gone over the basics, would you be willing to go through a questionnaire to discover your imbalances?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So for appetite, we had kapha. For digestion, we had vata. Elimination, we had pitta. Sleep, you had vata. Energy level, pitta. Skin condition, pitta. Menses was vata. Or no, did you say painful cramping?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so pitta actually. Emotions, pitta. So if we were to tally those up, pitta, vata, kapha would be the order, or the primary, secondary, and third. Yeah. I'm curious. I know maybe you don't know a ton about the doshas, but what does that feel like in your body? Does that feel...
Yeah, because I don't know a lot about them. I think it feels right, especially if I go back to thinking of like my teen years and my early 20s. There was definitely a lot of pitta there. If I, you know, what I know about pitta anyway, and I would say I'm gaining some of the other stuff as I'm shifting my perspectives in life and shifting my thought process and realizing different value systems kind of coming to light, recognizing certain things that I felt like was pressured on me. At the time, it didn't feel like it was pressured on me. It just felt like that's the way it was, and that's what was supposed to be important. And now I'm realizing, wait a second, that was kind of dumped on me, and I don't have to have that, and I can start sloughing it off. And so I feel like that's where it's starting to change. If you'd interviewed me 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have been full pitta.
Gotcha. Yeah. Very insightful. Yeah. I love that too, because it speaks to how Ayurveda supports us at every stage in our life. And as we fluctuate, the framework stays the same, but the application is a little different. And you may not know this, but we go through the doshas at different stages in our life. So in your early childhood, we need the nurturing and stability and support of our parents. That's more kapha. We're learning all these things that we didn't know before, and so they're helping us to kind of get our feet underneath us. And then during our productive years, like 20s, 30s, 40s, when we're grinding, we're working, we're maybe starting our own businesses, maybe going out and getting clients and going out and doing interviews, that's very pitta oriented. So if you have a tendency towards pitta and you're going through that phase in your life, you're gonna, like creates like, you're gonna have more symptoms of pitta. And then as we start to age out of our work years and we, relax into our later years, our body starts to age and dry out a little bit, and we are more vata. We go through this vata stage in our life. And so awesome. You already know these things even without the words and the language to describe them. That's super cool.
And I would get the sense that, I don't know if you know of highly sensitive people. So I'm a highly sensitive person, and when I was younger, it wasn't recognized. So I think that might be where the pitta came out as a defense mechanism to protect against that high sensitivity. One, to kind of shut it down so that it wouldn't be activated as much, to kind of like block it off or whatever, hide it away, for my own protection, because it's overwhelming to be highly sensitive. And then the other was kind of a defense mechanism to fend off other people who were like coming at to say, oh, you're too sensitive, or those clothes are good, like why are you uncomfortable in them, or things like, just like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, it's like, and just feeling, so materials and things, and just being kind of like, wasn't really shunned, that'd be a mean way to say it, because I know the people around me weren't trying to do that, but just that lack of comprehension of who I was and what was right and what wasn't right for me. So the pitta had to kind of push that off, as well as I fought with myself with it too, because then there's that thought of like, what's wrong with me?
Absolutely.
Because there's that expectation it's supposed to not be that way. So I think that's probably where it came out stronger. And then it got really loud in my, like, move away from home, go to college, like now I'm in my free space and parents aren't around, so anybody who attacks me in these ways, just rah, it's like
yes, you're gonna see the fire because I need to be safe. Yeah, super insightful. That's very, very interesting. Yeah, I think it speaks to how disease manifests in the body. And so Ayurveda, with this holistic lens of mind, body, and spirit, we talk about how the first level of disease is this disconnect from self,
Mm-hmm.
this maybe misunderstanding of self or society misunderstanding self. And so that separation creates kind of a lack and space for disease to come in. And so if our spirit is kind of like, well, now what? Like, I'm being told that this is not the right thing to do, or I don't understand what's going on, and there's really no one to help me out or give me the answer. Our spirit is like, well, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And then we start to have fluctuations in our mind where maybe we're questioning our own judgment, or maybe our caregivers who are supposed to be supporting us are like, no, put that shirt on. Like, I just bought it for you. I don't care about the tags. Like, just wear it. Gosh, I paid money for that. And then those fluctuations of our mind again create this separation, and we start to disconnect from our body as well. We suppress emotions, we suppress those messages that are coming to us saying, we're hungry, let's eat, we're tired, let's sleep. All these things. We start to diminish our use of our senses. We start to maybe overindulge in tastes, or overindulge in social media is now the big thing. And maybe we start to withdraw in other senses. We tune out our sense of touch, or we tune out our sensitivity to natural light and things like that. And then we are left with an imbalance. We are left with the symptoms of our disease. And so we kind of have to go step by step, understand the physical body and what it's presenting to us, understand how that and how our mind is interpreting all of that. Me, I have a tendency toward anxiety, so I do things to slow down and ground. Someone who maybe has pitta would be calming, cooling. How do we communicate what we actually need without being aggressive or angry or blaming? Kapha might be more, just do it, just step out and just do it. No, like the universe is there to support us. And then always coming back to like, what is our connect to our higher power? What is that source? Is that nature? Is that God? Is that journaling, spirituality? Do we go and pray with other people? Do we go into nature and just be silent? Like, how do we reconnect to the higher power in our lives? Yeah.
Nice. Like it. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being my guinea pig. I don't like saying that. I should come up with a better. Thanks for being my aspiring yogi.
There we go. That's better, because what came to my mind was test subject. So aspiring yogi sounds even better than that. So good.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for being here and helping me to kind of see more as to what's going on with me, because that's very much the stage I'm in my life, is I want to continue to explore, where do things come from in me, and is it me, or is it something other? And then what do I do with, what do I want to do that? If it's something other and it's something I enjoy having this other, then okay. And if it's something other and it's something I've realized I don't enjoy, then great. It's not even me. I can just like go give that back to where it belongs.
Yes. Aha.
Yeah.